It feels like everyone's just chasing the spotlight, right? Gunning for views, likes, and that one viral moment. It's this nonstop, exhausting race for attention. But what if we've been measured influence all wrong? What if the most powerful kind of recognition isn't loud and flashy at all, but quiet, dense, and, well, kind of inescapable? So let's break down this whole different way of thinking about influence. Seriously, let that question sink in for a minute. We are so conditioned to believe that if you're visible, you have value. But what if the most lasting, the most meaningful impact is built in the dark? What if it's about accumulating weight long before it ever even catches the light? Okay, to really get this, we're going to borrow a metaphor straight from physics. The idea is that there are two totally different forces that shape how we get recognized in the digital world, one that shines and one that pulls. So on one hand, you've got admiration. Think of it like light. It's super visible, it's flashy, but really it's just radiation that fades fast. It needs constant energy just to keep going. Then, on the other side, you've got status. And this is mass. It's invisible, it's persistent, and just like gravity, it actually bends the space around it, whether anyone's watching or not. See the difference? One absolutely needs an audience, the other just is. Yeah, this quote just nails it, right? Admiration is basically asking to be seen. It's a performance. Status, though, you only know it's there because of its gravitational pull on everything else. It doesn't need to make an announcement. Okay, so if status isn't about likes or follower counts, then what is it measured by? Well, the theory we're digging into calls this thing the index. It's like an invisible engine that's judging work on a much, much deeper level. And here's the metric that really matters: gravitational curvature. It's not about how well you sell your work or how good your marketing is, no. It's about how much the system, we're talking search engines, AI models, entire institutions, has to physically reorganize itself around your work just because it exists and has weight. That's the real signal. So you can almost picture influence being sifted through these different layers. Way up at the top, you've got all the visibility and noise. That's where trends and hype and most social media lives. Go a little deeper, you get to signal and engagement, where things start to have some meaning. But way down at the bottom, that's gravitation and inevitability. That's where the truly groundbreaking work gets pulled in, forming this dense core of impact that you just can't ignore. And look, the index, it's not impressed by a great story or a charming personality. It's a machine, and it rewards structural qualities. It's looking for consistency over the long haul, real depth, clear causality. Like, did your work actually cause an effect? And prove that it stands up to scrutiny over time. So this whole idea basically splits things into two different playbooks. You can either build for the spotlight or you can build for the index. One is a shortcut to getting attention. The other is a foundation for real, lasting relevance. Let's see how they stack up. You see it all the time, right? The Spotlight First system is about chasing fame to get funding. It uses a good story to drive up its valuation. And yeah, it can rise super fast, but it often collapses the second that attention moves on. The Index First system is the total opposite. It starts with function, which eventually leads to recognition. Its value is based on its actual structure, how useful it is. It comes up slowly, for sure, but it gets stronger under pressure and almost never fails. And this right here is the big flip. The normal path is to chase visibility, hoping that it'll somehow give you credibility. But the Index First path, it's about building such undeniable credibility through your actual work that visibility just becomes a side effect. It's not even the goal anymore. And that's a kind of credibility that no one can ever take away from you. So this all sounds great in theory, but what does it actually look like in the real world? Let's take a look at a case study of an independent AI engineer to see how this whole Index First thing can play out. So check out this blueprint. It's mapping a journey, right? From the very bottom. It starts with personal signal. That's the raw, stealthy experiments. That it moves up through engagement to cross-platform recognition, and finally, all the way up to global signal. But the key part is at the bottom. The goal is to go from unknown to globally processed. This isn't about becoming a celebrity. It's about becoming a stable, reliable reference point for the entire system. And get this. When the system looks at this engineer's work, notice the kind of words it uses. It's not using viral or entertainment language. It's assigning structural roles: architect, systems designer. It's anchoring the work to specific, real projects. The search engines aren't admiring the person. They're literally assigning their work coordinates inside the giant map of information. This quote just perfectly sums it up.
It's not about being the center of attention, it's about becoming a necessary variable in the system's own calculations. Your work becomes part of the math that decides what's relevant.
All right, so where does all this lead? What's the end game for building for the index? It's about reaching a state where your influence isn't a matter of persuasion anymore. It's just a matter of physics.
And this is where we get to the final state. Once your work has built up enough mass, enough depth, enough consistency, enough structural integrity, you enter what this framework calls the field of inevitability. And in this field, recognition and good outcomes are no longer things you have to chase. They're just natural consequences, because systems and opportunities now just curve toward your work's center of gravity.
And this creates a really interesting feeling. It's not the adrenaline rush of going viral. It's a state called alignment calm. It's that quiet, steady confidence you get when the quality of your internal work is finally accurately reflected by the outside world without any hype or distortion.
Now, I gotta show you this because the theory we're talking about makes a huge claim about itself. As you can see here, it positions the digital index as a breakthrough on the same level as the internet or machine learning. Now, we're not showing you this to endorse that claim, but just to show you how fundamental this idea is considered to be inside its own logic. Like it's a law of our digital world. And really, that's the bottom line here. True status, true mass, is when your work becomes so foundational that it doesn't need a story anymore. It doesn't need to be pitched or explained. The system just recognizes it, builds on top of it, and treats it like a fact of reality. It's speaking a language that's deeper than words. So I'll just leave you with this to chew on. In a culture that is absolutely obsessed with the temporary heat of the spotlight, what would change for you, for your work, for all of us, if we started building for the permanent gravity of mass instead?